All right, let's talk about that little device you're probably holding in your hand right now. Yep, your smartphone. We're going to go way beyond just screen time and look at what our constant connection is actually doing to the wiring inside our brains. Let's dive in. You know that feeling, right? You feel that little vibration in your pocket, that buzz that says, hey, pay attention to me. You reach for your phone, ready to check the notification, and there's nothing there. It's a super weird sensation, and it turns out it's the first clue to just how deep these devices have dug into our nervous systems.
So, that feeling? It's not just in your head. Well, it is, but it has a name: phantom vibration syndrome. It's a real, recognized phenomenon. Our brains have been so conditioned by thousands of real alerts that they just start making them up. We've literally trained ourselves to be on high alert for that next digital poke.
And how common is this? Get this. Studies show that a staggering 90% of us have felt these phantom vibrations. So no, you're not going crazy. It's not a bug. It's become a feature of a brain rewired by modern technology. Okay, so if phantom vibrations are what happen when our brains are hyperconnected, what happens when we suddenly cut that connection? Well, that brings us to the very real link between being separated from our phones and, you guessed it, anxiety. Research from Singapore Management University is super clear on this. Being physically separated from your phone isn't just a small inconvenience. It actually causes a measurable spike in anxiety. Our brains have started to see the absence of our phone as a genuine threat, and it triggers a real physical stress response. So why does a little anxiety matter so much? Because it directly messes with our executive functions. Just think of these as your brain's CEO. It's the part that's in charge of focus, of juggling tasks, of controlling your impulses. It's what you use to solve a tough problem or just, get through your to-do list. And here's the chain reaction they discovered. It's a direct pathway. Being away from your phone kicks up your anxiety. That anxiety then gets in the way of your brain's CEO doing his job. To put it simply, the stress of being without your phone literally makes it harder for you to think. It's why you might find it so hard to concentrate on a big project when your phone is just in the other room. This all begs a really fascinating question, right? What would happen if we just stopped? What if we forced a hard reset? A study published in Computers in Human Behavior did exactly that. They put a group of young adults through a 72-hour smartphone detox just to see what was going on inside their heads. The experiment was pretty straightforward. For 3 days, participants had to dramatically cut back their phone use. While they were doing this, researchers used fMRI scans to get a live look at their brain activity, paying really close attention to the parts of the brain that light up for reward and craving. And the results were pretty dramatic. The scans showed brain patterns that were, and this is a direct quote from the study, similar to those reported in substance or alcohol addiction. Yeah, our brains were showing clear, measurable signs of withdrawal. Now here's the part that really gets you. You might think, okay, sure, that's for the really heavy users, the people who are on their phones 24/7. But no, the study found the exact same withdrawal-like symptoms in average users too. This isn't some niche issue, it's a mainstream brain response. Okay, I know all of this evidence sounds pretty concerning, but the story doesn't end here, and this is where it gets hopeful. The good news is, we are not powerless in this. So let's talk about the path to reclaiming our focus and finding a much healthier digital balance. Really, the goal is to get from the column on the left to the one on the right, to move from anxiety, poor focus, and that constant fear of missing out over to emotional well-being, real productivity, and better connections. The big question is, how do we actually do that? Well, this brings us to a really cool recent study on an app called Minimalist Phone. The researchers had a clever idea. Could a piece of technology be used to fight the negative effects of technology itself? Could it help people build more mindful habits? So, what was the first big finding? A major drop in screen time. On average, people who use the app cut their usage by 20 to 30%. That's proof right there that with the right approach, we can absolutely change our own digital behaviors. And to put that percentage into perspective, that works out to an average of 10.5 hours reclaimed every single week. Think about that for a second. That is more than a full workday of your time, of your focus, that you get back for, well, anything else. But it wasn't just about the total time spent. This part is key. Users also cut their mindless, habitual phone checking in half. They were picking up their devices 50% less often.
This marks a huge shift from an unconscious habit to intentional, purposeful use. It's the first step to making your phone a tool again instead of a reflex.
So, after this quick journey through our brains on smartphones, what's the big takeaway? Let's pull all of these key pieces together one last time.
So let's recap. We started with those phantom buzzes, which we now know are a real symptom of our brain being rewired. Then we saw how just being separated from our phones can trigger anxiety that actually hurts our ability to think. We even discovered that our brains can show addiction-like withdrawal symptoms after only 3 days. But, and this is the most important part, we learned that we can fight back, that with mindful changes we can reclaim huge chunks of our time and our well-being. And that all leaves us with one final question to think about. These devices, they're supposed to serve us, right? They're supposed to be these incredible tools that make our lives better. But it's worth taking a second to ask yourself honestly, in your day-to-day life, is your phone still your tool, or have you become its?